Ms. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Housefeld.
Here.
Let the record show that currently 5 members are present, 2 members are absent, but as I say, 1 is on the way. I have a motion to approve the written minutes of the August 26th council meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse.
I make a motion to approve the written minutes of the August 26th council meeting.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Ms. Housefeld to approve the written minutes of the August 26th council meeting. Are there any comments, remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. And we'll move to reports of administrative officials. Mayor, Mr. Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This Wednesday, I had the honor of swearing in our newest firefighter paramedic, Eric Lett. He is not new to fire service by any means, as he was a lateral transfer from the Little Miami Fire District. Eric brings a wealth of knowledge to our fire department with his years of experience and certifications. I am thrilled that he will be serving our village, and I look forward to him getting to know our residents. The third CIC Community Engagement event for the proposed redevelopment of St. Bernard Square Shopping Center will be combined with our regular monthly meeting on Tuesday, September 28th. The regular board meeting will start at 5:30 p.m. and the community engagement portion will start at 6 p.m., all in the main hall of the municipal building. This will be an in-person meeting, but you will have the ability to watch it on Facebook Live and ask questions via Zoom. Instructions on how to participate in this event via Zoom will be published once all the details are worked out with ICRC. Again, this is your opportunity to have input and give your feedback on the proposed project. Lastly, I would like to touch on the incident that happened here in St. Bernard on Monday evening, where a young lady had her cell phone taken and was assaulted in the process while trying to recover it. This by no means is a criticism of the parent or the victim, but I feel that based on the large number of negative comments on Facebook that were directed to the police department, I felt that it was necessary to give some additional information on what was posted on Tuesday. As it was previously stated, the young lady and her friend were at Vine Street Park, and they were socializing with a group hanging out by the shelter. Just before they departed from the park, one of our police officers who were out on patrol drove through the park where he engaged the group. There was no apparent signs of any issues, and the group left the park. The victim was then with the suspects down near the shopping center, where the female in the group asked to use her cell phone to call her a family member, and the victim respectfully complied. The group started to leave the area and headed north on Vine Street towards the P&G Millennium Building, where the victim tried to recover her phone and was assaulted. The suspects were able to take off with her phone, and the victim was able to make it home, where the police department was notified. There was an immediate response by our police department, where the victim and her mother were taken to the area where the assault occurred. A canine from a mutual aid agency was deployed, but was unable to track the suspects beyond Spring Grove Avenue. Information from the victim's family was shared with the police department as to the location of the phone in Winton Terrace, and the Cincinnati Police Department District 5 officers responded, but they were not successful in recovering the phone or apprehending the suspects. Currently, the District 5 investigative unit is working to identify the suspects and working various leads on potential addresses. I can't imagine what this young lady or her family are going through with this very traumatic experience. I know that there was frustration with the fact that we did not send a group of St. Bernard officers to the terrace to try to recover the phone, but this is a densely populated area, and we were advised to not take action on our own by Cincinnati Police District 5. The current goal is to identify the suspects so that charges can be filed and either the phone can be recovered or restitution can be made. If anyone has any questions in addition to what I've reported, the chief is here this evening and would be glad to answer any questions. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Auditor, Ms. Brickway.
Thank you, Mr. President. The expense and revenue reports were emailed to all of council this evening. The expenses for 2021 were for August of 2021, $8,235,618.58. The revenues for August of 2021 totaled $10,081,361. God, I'm having sorry. $10,081,361.59. Comparing the revenues to the expenses, we are up $1,845,743.01. One thing I would like to explain is because of the COVID and the way they did the property taxes last year, the August of last year property taxes are not in there yet. So that can make a difference of probably about $450,000. And then it also includes this year, we did get our COVID refund, $222,100.30. And they finally closed out an account we had 3 years ago when we were self-insured with HealthSmart, which gave us $43,513.07. So that was some of the odd stuff that happened in August. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Director Lowell, Ms. Van Valkenburg.
Thank you. I've been working on the anti-discrimination proposed resolution. I'll have something for you next week, so I would like to put that on the table for next meeting. I have a draft that I'd like to circulate to you so you can look at it over the next week. Cindy, I'll get it to you this evening, Chris, and also you, Ray, so you have hard copies, and then I'll email people, and if we could talk about, or if anybody has any suggestions or thoughts, let me know and I can make any changes, but that'll be what I'm looking to do. Also, I would like to go into executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss current litigation. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeVerke.
make a motion to go to executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss current litigation.
Second that. A motion by Mr. DeVerke, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson, excuse me, to go into executive session at the end of this meeting to discuss current litigation. We'll call the roll. Mr. DeVerke.
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson.
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer.
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse.
Aye.
Ms. Miller.
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. We will go into executive session at the end of the meeting.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeVerke.
also Valerie, Cindy, you talked about the proposed resolution. You want it on the table next meeting. Do you want to discuss it at the committee of the whole? You'll put it on the table for the next council meeting.
I was going to put it on the table to be voted on next council meeting, but if anybody wants to look at it and then discuss it at committee of whole, we can do that. But I think that's why Valerie was asking if she would send it out, everybody would look at it and see if there was any concerns. I think if there was too many concerns, or if there was other questions about it, we could table it and talk about it at committee of whole.
You could always just give it its first reading instead of tabling it too, so, and just do it the following council
You know,
meeting.
I'm uncomfortable responding to the emails about an ordinance
Okay.
or
with the
resolution. So if you want to put it on the table, we can get the first reading, go from there if you want. It's up to you guys, though.
Well, I would like to put it on the table for the first reading, and then we can go from there.
You make that a motion to place that resolution on the table?
I make a motion to put the resolution on the table.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Schultmeyer to place a resolution on the table for the discrimination resolution. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So ordered. Okay. Anything else?
No, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a report from the treasurer? Nothing? Safety and Service Director, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. There's John,
Nope.
Mr. President.
Timing is almost impeccable. We'll come back to you. We'll do the Safety Director, Safety
Right.
Service, go for it.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to make council aware that line items 2016, which would be fuel, and 2018, which will be landfill, will be coming close, and I think they may be needing appropriations before the year's end. I'll have a better understanding of that probably by next committee of the whole. That concludes my report.
Mr. President?
Mr. DeBerke.
Tommy, didn't we bump that up this year? The price go up again?
Mr. President?
Mr. Paul.
The fuel prices have risen. The landfill, actually, we ended the contract for Republic, which was 53 cents a ton. So we're back down to 30, which means that we may make it, but I'm unsure. So that's where we're at now, right now.
You do mean $53 a ton, right? You said 53 cents.
53 cents a ton, yeah. $53 a
Yeah.
ton. Sorry, yes.
That's a 53 cents a ton, a bargain.
Mr. President, tell him not to confuse me, please.
That happened, I won't say it. All right, back to Treasurer, Mr. Unger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the First State Bank statement for the 4th of July Memorial Fund. At the end of August, our total there was $5,658.99. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Tax Commissioner / Administrator, Ms. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have August of 2021's end-of-month receipts. Tax collections for August were $801,590. Tax refunds for August were $10,984. Payments from the e-file system for August were $806. $2,011.53 in delinquent tax was collected with capital recovery. $502.30 in delinquent tax was collected with the Ohio Attorney General's office. $6,143.55 in judgment payments were collected for delinquent taxes. Just a couple updates. I have had, there's a new tax form that's been updated with new instructions. It's now on the tax department's website. This form is a little bit more complete, and it should be a little bit easier for residents to use. The form will stay the same year to year, just the date at the top, for what year it'll be will change. There's also a new feature on our e-file portal, which will allow you to pay your current year quarterly tax payment. Third quarter 2021 tax bills will go out at the beginning of October and will be due October 31st. And then please note that you cannot make payments through this portal for outstanding balances that are in collections or judgments or with the Attorney General's office. As always, if you have any questions or you're unsure with your tax documents, just give me a call. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. Taberky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Emory Federal Credit Union is having a shred day next Saturday, the 18th, at 3 locations. You can check their website, emoryfcu.org, for times and specific locations. Then once again, Thursday, October 7th, I'll be hosting a Meet the K-9 night in the main level of the municipal building at 7 p.m. Here's my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Safety, Mr. Ray Culberson.
Thanks, Mr. President. This is another reminder that the Police and Fire Benevolent Association will be holding their steak fry on Friday, September 17th. The event runs from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m., and the cost is $20. There will also be free hot dogs available for the kids. And I do have questions for the police chief. Should I do that now, or there's no old or new business? So
Go ahead.
Chief, just want to, if you're at liberty to say or not, following up on a couple of the things that have been reported in the situation that happened. I've been told that one of the individuals had a gun on them. Is that accurate or not accurate?
That is unknown.
Okay.
I don't believe he did. But I'm not going to swear that he didn't.
And then the other
Believed to have been plastic.
Okay. Well, the only other question I had too is it was reported to one of the affected individuals, that there's a lot of gang activity in our parks. Was that
That is unequivocally false.
Okay.
There absolutely no gang activity in any fashion in any of our parks.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
both.
you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky.
Bob gave me a report to read, and part of it is dealing with the situation. Should I just read it now, since we're on that discussion?
Sure.
On a separate note, as some of you might have already seen on Facebook, I would like to take this time again to warn our residents about a gang, which has been refuted, from Wind Terraces hanging around the parks on Vine Street. Well, first thing on Monday night, a 12-year-old girl was attacked by 4 members, all young teenagers, and had her cell phone stolen. The police were called and information was provided to them about the phone's location. The girl sustained several injuries but will recover. It was later learned that this group had a gun in their possession. We were very fortunate that it was not utilized during the events. The case was supposedly turned over to Cincinnati District 5. However, I was informed as of this morning by the District 5 lead officer who handles wind terrorists. They do not have any information on this case, including any photos. I'm shocked by this. I would ask Chief Simos to follow up with District 5 to find out where the ball was dropped. I'm concerned if this is happening on this case, how many other cases has this happened on? I'm also asking the photos of the suspects to be released to the residents so all can assist and keep an eye out for them when they should return to the village. But I'm assuming since they're juveniles, you can't release the photos. Unfortunately, this serves as a terrible reminder to our residents that we need to be aware of our surroundings. Please keep your kids, no matter old, know that they need to keep their guard up and be very careful around Vine Street Park, particularly the shelter area. We as residents of this village need to band together, help the police in deterring the individual setting up shop in St. Bernard. That was part of Bob's report. So I don't know if
Thank you. Service, Mr. Schultmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the Service Department report for August 2021. We placed 27 trucks at residences, 20 dumpsters at residences, 342 special pickups at residences, 205 tons of garbage taken to landfill, 32 tons of recycling material, 57 pounds of scrap aluminum, 78 pounds of aluminum cans, 1 pound of brass, 3 pounds of copper, and 26,820 pounds of lead. 21 pounds of 21 pounds of auto radiators. In addition, I have the waste collection fees for, looks like the month of July. The waste collection fees for the month of July were $24,417.87. That concludes my report, Mr. President. I did have a question too about the situation in the park. What time of day did that happen? Do we know?
Mr. President,
Mr.
I believe it was roughly 8:30 at night. Is that correct?
It was 8:30.
Yeah, is there any thoughts about, and I think there are signs that say it closes at 10 o'clock or something. Are there any thoughts about making that dark, closing it at dark, all our parks? Because at 8:30 at this time of year, it's dark.
Mr.
Was that to
President?
me?
It's to you or Jonathan, I guess.
I've had no discussions
Yeah.
of closing the park at dark.
Yeah,
since
I'm
we
not going
have
to say I've had several citizens. I've
lights
had
and
one citizen ask me if we should close the parks at dark, so I thought I'd throw that out there.
Mr. President?
Mr. DeBerke.
Chris, that's been discussed a couple years ago, and they were saying since dark is not an exact time, how you determine what dark is. Is it dusk or is it dark? So they decided to put I think it's 10 o'clock on the signs.
Yeah,
for
so we
park
may want to
closing.
think about moving that up and policing that, more.
Mr. President,
Ms. Brickway.
I hear what you're saying, but then I'm also thinking, what do you do about the steak fry, the festival? I mean, all that is in the park. Then you have the baseball games at Ross Park, the softball games at, I don't know, I think we'd have to really think like how to make that work. Because what the ordinance is the parks with lights are 11 o'clock. All the other ones are dusk. Like the one in our neighborhood it closes at dusk, and we just basically use common sense. When I can't see the swings, you shouldn't be on them. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, I think that's why they made those 11 o'clock, because of all the special events that we have down there and because there were lights.
So, yeah, suggestion, we may want to think about whether or not we change that. And you're right, we'd have to do some kind of special thing for softball games and steak fries. But there's really no reason for teenagers to be hanging around after dark at Vine Street Park, is my opinion. This is not placing blame on anyone, just something we ought to think about maybe changing so that we can give the policemen some leverage to clean that up a little bit. That concludes my report.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Ms. Housel.
while we're discussing that, I guess I have a question. This is like one incident, right? It's not like an ongoing problem or anything like that. So, I mean, we have an isolated incident, and it's unfortunate, and it stinks, but it's one incident. And I'm not saying that we can't look at the times and
And it
stuff.
didn't
but
happen in the park. It did not happen in the park.
Yeah, it happened outside of the park. The kids were in the park to begin with, but then they left the park and went elsewhere, and that's where it happened. My only suggestion is, if we do look at the times and stuff, we have to keep it in perspective too. It was one incident. It did not happen in the park, and it's very unfortunate, and I feel for the family and the little girl that it happened to, but we do have to keep it in perspective too.
Yeah, Mr. President, I agree we should keep it in perspective, although I still suggest that there's no reason why teenagers should be hanging out in the park after dark, and we ought to think about that. But I appreciate what you're saying. It hasn't been a bunch of incidents. I think it will be if we don't do something.
Sounds like a later committee of the whole topic. All right. Mr. DeBerke, sorry.
Can I respond to?
Go ahead.
There was no ball dropped. District 5 had the pictures yesterday, so there was no ball dropped. I grow tired of having to defend misinformation, and this is not at anybody up here. This is just a commentary that I'm not one to beat our chest on how great our police department is every time we do something. So I grow tired of having to defend them when they've done nothing wrong. This is an isolated incident, as Ms. Hausfeld pointed out. Nothing happened the entire summer, and I guess the end of summer is over. It doesn't matter. This is an isolated incident that, again, didn't happen in the park. We had just spoken to these 4 individuals within 20 minutes of this happening, prior to. So I also empathize and sympathize with the victims, but there is not need to overreact or change the way we operate. This police department is widely regarded as one of the finest in the county, and I will defend them to my dying breath. We will do whatever it is you guys want us to do, but there were no errors made, no balls were dropped. They had the pictures. I spoke with the investigative unit this afternoon. He brought the pictures to me to prove that he had the pictures, but we just need to take a deep breath and understand that there are bad actors that we are trying our best to identify. When we are advised by Cincinnati police not to go over there without them, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to blindly go door to door in any neighborhood outside of ours on a hunt for a cell phone. Yesterday, District 5 was tied up on a shooting and a pursuit of a stolen car. Separate incidents. So when we can coordinate with District 5 and we get a solid lead, rest assured, as always, it'll be pursued. We're not dropping any balls. The second shift has worked on this pretty much round the clock since it happened. So when we get something definitive or solid, we will pursue those involved. That is all I have for now.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke?
Chief, want me to forward you the email Bob sent me so you can respond to
I
him?
have no desire,
Okay.
none. It's probably best that I don't.
Mr. President,
Ms. Brickway?
and I wasn't going to comment on it, but I will say, thank you, Chief Simos. It was very rough to keep watching that happen on Facebook, and to have people saying you need to copy and paste this because none of our children are safe. It's like, what are you doing to our community? And I'll be honest, when I first read Bob's post, it seemed a little, I was like, wow, and gangs and all the big words he used and stuff. And I called Jonathan and I'm like, can you explain it? But kudos to Jonathan and Chief Semos for not commenting on that Facebook page, because that's where it all goes crazy. I would like that the police report the police. I can pretend that I know what's going on and put things out there, but I want to be honest, I think Bob caused a major panic in our city. And I just think it's shameful because, and I realize that it's a relative and everything like he said on Facebook, and I feel for them. But the true facts need to go out. And then when you tell people to share stuff that's not even the true facts, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And it was almost up to 300 comments. And who knows how many other pages it went out to. And that just really scares me, to think people are thinking this and worrying about this. And to me, it also can entice people to try to do so. It's just like it just blew my mind, and I really felt sorry for the police department because they got ripped for absolutely no reason. Thank you.
All right. Good.
I'm good for now till the next question.
Thank you. All right, you have something else for his,
Sorry.
for public improvements, Mr. Bray?
CIC will meet on September 28th at 6 p.m. I'm sure the mayor gave an update on the square.
All right.
He's got 6 p.m.
Audience participation part is 6, right?
Mr. President, yes, the audience participation for the community engagement portion of the meeting will start at 6. The regular meeting is going to be starting at 5:30. We're actually holding both portions together because trying to work this out with ICRC and other travel plans for the development group, we had to do it all in one night.
All right, thank you. Laws, contracts, and claims, Ms. Bettinghouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be scheduling a Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee meeting in the next 2 weeks to discuss short-term rentals. When this gets scheduled, the date and time will be posted on the village website. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Marketing, Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have several updates to share with the community. These updates are also included in the September 2021 newsletter. Lollipop Soccer will hold games on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m., starting September 21st and ending October 21st at Vine Street Park. The St. Bernard Women's Club will have their first meeting of 2021 on Monday, September 13th at 7 p.m. in the main level of the municipal building. The Historical Society will hold their next program on September 20th, 2021. The topic will be Agriculture, Sears Homes in St. Bernard by Kat Lang and Barb Jennings. Thursday, September 30th is the Bengals tailgate, 6 to 11 p.m. at the Pavilion. And the St. Bernard annual Halloween campout will take place on Friday, October 8th and Saturday, October 9th at Lower Ross Park. Activities again will include DJs, a Halloween costume contest, trunk or treating, movies, a fire pit, and more. Residents can reserve their campsite by emailing recreation@cityofstbernard.org or by calling 513-641-3137. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Business and industry, Ms. Housefeld.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. This time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council this evening? Please state your name and address for the record.
Tom Ralston, 30 Clay Street. I got a couple of questions. Like, there's a lot of discussion on this dance class and stuff and renting out the village property to for profit. Who authorized it, and is it legal?
Mr. President,
Mayor.
actually, maybe if at this point, if Mr. Schuldemeyer would like to actually step up and give us some information on the program and some background, maybe Laura can help on that a little bit as well.
Yeah, so I can give a little bit of the background on the dance program. Laura is here and she can address more of the cost. And I will say, as far as using or renting out space, we've been renting out that fitness center since it was built about 6 years ago, periodically at a rate of $15 an hour. You'll have to answer the legality because no one's ever questioned that. I'm not aware of it being illegal. We rent out Ross Park to for-profit baseball organizations every year. And I don't know, do you want to explain the program, and then we can field any questions?
And I apologize, Tom, because you were right there. I would have answered any questions that you had.
Hi, I'm Laura Mosley, and I live at 4238 Langley, and I look out there, and I'm pretty sure everybody out there knows who I am. Just a little bit of background about this dance program, if you're not aware. So 28 years ago, a group of women through a PTA at St. Bernard decided we needed dance in our community. And so we got together as volunteers, that's the key word there, volunteers, and we organized a dance program. We were able, and very blessed, to be able to have dance teachers that were pro dance teachers from other dance studios. I guess you wouldn't consider us a studio so much. We were a recreation dance program, but we were able to bring it into our community, starting out through the schools. Everything was free, except the cost of the teachers, of course. But they came in, and another blessing that they taught our children very, very cheap. They took a very low pay rate to cover our classes. So all of the fees that we brought in covered dance teachers. We had a place to dance for free, a staff that was free, mainly myself, that worked endless hours to make sure everything was the way it needed to be. There was no overhead at all. We didn't have a rent for stage. It was all free. So no cost at all except to sign your child up to dance. Pre-COVID, our dance, 45 minutes. All the classes were 45 minutes, $110 for a 45-minute class for 32 weeks. Roughly $3.50 is what you paid for your child to take a dance class by professional dance teachers on a weekly basis in your community. So fast forward a little bit. I belong to the Positive Action Committee, and our first goal in our community was to raise money and turn our once library into a dance and fitness studio, which was just sitting there. Nothing was happening, nothing. At the time John Estep was mayor, we approached him and he said, go for it. $12,000 later, we revamped the old library into a dance fitness studio. So fast forward up to COVID. At that time, we were running our dance program recital out of the Roger Bacon Theater, which was free. We had top-notch teachers, two of them which got placed, one in New York City, teaching on New York City College, and another that got placed at Cincinnati Ballet, so they both had to leave. So COVID hit, COVID's gone, I can't get teachers to come back. They've already been displaced other places, so we were at a loss. No dance program for our kids in our community. Christy Flesh, 17 years spent here getting our program up to where it was, and she got the opportunity of a lifetime and bought her own studio to Anderson and Mount Lookout. Her Mount Lookout building was taken away, so she at the same time needed a new place to open up for her younger kids, preschool through 5th grade. I approached her. I can't start a dance program again. Christy, what can we do working, collaborating again together? So I talked with Paul, who has been fabulous when we brought it on as the St. Bernard Rec program after we left the schools. And he said, Laura, we rent out the facility. It just so happened that the fitness area wasn't being used at the time that Christy Flesh needed it. So for $15 an hour, which was just sitting vacant, not being used, we were able to start bringing our dance program back, which now isn't being run by a volunteer, but I'm still involved. We have to rent a facility for the dance recital. We don't have. And we have a rental fee of the cost of $15 an hour. I apologize because I don't do social media, but I'm hearing about all the stuff out on social media. And Mr. Robson's coming with some concerns that I don't understand are concerns. And nobody's ever approached me, ever. And everybody knows that I've started this from the beginning. So I'm very put out, and I'm extremely bothered by this because without Christy Flesh coming in and renting our facility that is rented by outside independent contractors already, and like Paul said, our fabulous Ross Park is rented by outsiders as well, there was no dance program for our children. And now people aren't signing up because it's astronomical in fees. So I want you to put something in perspective. So we went from our $3.50 a class to now roughly $9 a class, which is what Gotta Dance Studios charge, which is what Christy owns. So that is, I tried to go out and look what the closest is. So in perspective, our children now, through Gotta Dance, can take a ballet and tap class, 1 hour class, for 9 weeks is $111. $12 a class. You pay 4 payments of $111, which is 4 quarters. You have a $50 costume fee, which is what we charged. You have a $50 dance recital fee, which includes 4 of your dance recital tickets, which are $5 a piece, was what we charged. And the rest is gone for rental fees, overhead fee for staff, you name it, whatever it needs for Christy to pay her bills. That is what we're bringing to our children at this point. 28 years later, we're still offering a program. You don't travel anywhere. I've been heard that people are putting out, well, how can people in St. Bernard afford this? You know, this is people in St. Bernard. I take offense to that. I live in St. Bernard. My grandson made a select baseball team. They are paying $650 for my grandson to play. And I know every one of you know, to train your child to make the sport in their high school costs a lot of money. If they want to do gymnastics, if they want to play football. A dance program is no different. Gotta Dance is the cheapest around. I've contacted Dyla Dance Center on Kennedy Avenue. Okay, that's the closest up to us. So for a 45-minute class for 9 weeks, you're going to pay $204. That's $21 a class. $65 registration fee, which I failed to tell you. Christy waived the registration fee for St. Bernard community and people that took the dance program here. So that's $0 for us. $65 dance recital fee. The cost is astronomical. We are getting pro teachers, a pro dance studio performance at Highland Heights High School in Northern Kentucky. I don't know what the problem is. Without Gotta Dance coming into our community and renting a facility that other places rent, it's not just rented by St. Bernard residents. We are offering another chance for our children that don't excel in sports, don't do well. I have a granddaughter that way who is excited beyond excited to be able to take dance again. But unfortunately, at open house, we didn't have a very good turnout because of the nasty comments that are floating around our community. And I don't understand. I am here 100%. I have not gone anywhere. Most of you have my phone number, and if you don't, you all know where I work. So I don't understand. I don't understand. I just saw you the other night at open house for the dance. So if you have an issue, contact me. But if anybody wants to tell me they think that something illegal is being done, this isn't a good thing for St. Bernard residents, I need them to tell me that now.
Mr. President. Oh.
So just to reiterate what Laura was saying, thank you, by the way, for bringing this back, because there are a lot of residents who were happy. I personally had a niece dancing around the house because the dance program was back. So this was our one chance to bring this program back. The cost may not be in line with some of our other programs, but to play knot-hole baseball, soccer at $40, swim lessons, 15 lessons for $20, $1.50 a lesson. We're not exactly in line in a lot of things, but this one, too, is under what the competition is. Now, Tom's question was more about the legality. Again, I got to defer to you. We've rented this studio out for $15 an hour since it was opened in 2016. Periodically, not a lot of rentals. We rent Ross Park, we rent Vine Street Park to for-profit baseball tournaments. We pay independent contractors to teach fitness classes in that studio. I would say that's a for-profit business also using the space, so that's a question for you guys to debate, and that answers your original question. So if there's more, it's all yours.
I wasn't questioning the dance. I'm questioning if it's legal or not, because what if somebody else wants to come in and rent a building here and run a business here? And Laura, are you involved in it? Or are you just, do you get paid? Okay, so this is a for-profit. It's for people outside of St. Bernard also, right? Yeah.
What do you mean?
People that don't live in St. Bernard can come to this dance class.
And they've always been able to come to this dance class, no matter when, from the get-go. I've never turned anybody away.
Well, my grandkids all went through it and stuff. I don't have a problem with the dance. I want to know if it's legal and if it's going to cause a problem if somebody gets hurt down there, or if somebody else says, I want to teach a gun class down here, can they do the same thing? And if council didn't have anything to do with this, who was responsible and who had the authority to do this right now? So, I mean, that was my only question. It wasn't if it was good or bad for the thing. The other one is, now that you brought up on when you go into executive session for litigation, when does that become public record? Because I know last time you guys did, I got up here and asked, like, can you say what it was? And you said we don't have to. So when is that public record? When you go into litigation?
Ms. Van Valkenburg.
When the litigation is concluded and there's a decision on the record, if it's not under seal.
Okay, well, the last time I was here, I asked a question, and I think you said we don't have to say what it was.
Not while there's ongoing litigation.
What's that?
Not while there is ongoing litigation.
Okay, I want to know when it becomes public record that anybody can go see what it was about.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean. I mean, the clerk's records are open to the pleadings, for example, any motions filed. Those are all public record. Those are all on the clerk's website. At least as here, I'm talking about Hamilton County. There are probably some counties in Ohio that may not have their documents on the website. Here in Hamilton County, I believe you can look at those documents. Our discussions are privileged and are not subject to being made public until the litigation is concluded.
Okay, let's find it. Now that you brought up Ross Park, I'd like to know how much money St. Bernard is getting from renting that out all the time. The umpires are getting like 60, 80 bucks an hour. The guy that's running the tournaments is making a lot of money. How much are we making? Because we put taxpayers' money in it, and it's being used a lot. So do you know how much we made since it was built? Is that public information?
If you give me a second, I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. We brought in $28,750 last year.
And how much does it cost to maintain that place?
That's in our, we don't have that broken out. That's in our park budget of all the parks. They don't just, we don't list how much it costs to maintain each park.
And the other question, last one, is on the billboard, are we getting tax money for the income they're generating down there?
Mr. President?
Ms. Helms.
Yes, we are. I have looked into that, they've been in compliance for many years now.
And it's still tied up in court though, right? Are we still pursuing them taking it down?
You're asking if the billboard is still in litigation?
Right, with that St. Bernard?
Correct, it is.
Yes.
All right, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to address council?
I just want to reiterate, if anybody has, it's on, yep. Anybody has any discussion on this, I mean, we are scheduled to start September 20th, the week of, and we're going to go with whatever we have. As long as she has 5 in a class, we're doing it. We didn't get as many as we thought, but there's people that are not here that have been very vocal on why we shouldn't do this. And they need to know this true information, and I don't know why anybody would have a problem with this. So,
Mr. President, I have a question for Laura. So, yeah, I was watching all that go on Facebook, too. It was just a wonderful week.
Well, I don't do that, but I hear about it.
You're lucky. are they going to possibly have another open house, or once now that you have this out in the public and you're explaining it to everybody, could they still sign up?
We have ongoing registration right now. And you know, the other perk to this, everything's done online. I mean, what took me hours upon hours upon hours has been so condensed now. They can do everything online. They make payments online. They order their costumes. Everything is done. And everything's in compliance. Christy follows everything that has to be done.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse.
Laura, I want to thank you for that program. I was involved with it with my kids, grandkids, and it's just a wonderful program. So I just want to thank you.
Well, and it's just what I'm passionate about, but what bothers me is that this program would have ceased after 28 years. I mean, COVID was bad enough for it. But, and this, you don't understand how this makes St. Bernard look. Once the PAC redid the studio and bringing new people in that didn't even hear of St. Bernard, it's just wonderful. It's a perk for new residents coming into our community. And I just think anything we can offer out there, and with Christy's help, we are going to be able to have a professional dance studio in our community where people don't have to travel, to Anderson to have their children take professional dance. So, but by all means, send them my way. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr.
I have
Schultz.
a question for Laura. Laura, how many kids do you force to take this class?
How many kids do what?
You force to take this class?
I forced?
Yeah. Are there any that you're really just like going out?
I didn't have to force my own children.
Everybody in this class is taking it because they want to take it, right?
Everyone.
So I just want to say I hope that this doesn't hurt your feeling to do this in the future, because I know two of my girls went through it and it was amazing. And I understand that the change in cost might be a surprise to people, but
and it is, because in St. Bernard, I was not born here, but I went to Olay, and when I first got to St. Bernard, I was in shock to know what everybody was able to have. So I always looked at it as, oh my gosh, they don't know what it's like in the real world. And I believe that's where it is. And people that have been part of the program can't get out of that little box to say, well, that wasn't, and it wasn't. St. Bernard Dance Program was not the real world. It was this, I don't know, blessing that was bestowed upon us because of volunteers that ran it and being able to have places to hold it. But now, we're still getting a better program. Christy's back and it's $12 a class. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but
well, I wanted to echo Cindy's comments, and I hope that you continue to put effort into it. And
well,
volunteer,
I'm here. I mean, I'm even cleaning the studios between the dances because that's how much I want this program to succeed, and I want everything to mesh with the fitness classes and have Christy happy where she's at. And that's what my daughter and I are going to do, because that's just what we do. And I just am hurt because grown adults are acting childish and not seeking out who they need to seek out to get their answers without going social media. That's what we get on our children for.
Mr. President.
Ms. Miller.
Laura, I'd also like to say I think you're fabulous. Christy's fabulous. I pay an astronomical amount of money for my kids to play baseball. A lot of money. I totally get it. Back to the question of Tom's. Any contractor that comes in to use that facility, is there any legalities that the city can be liable for in association that anybody here is aware of?
That's what I wanted to answer his question, is that we do have a rental agreement for him with a liability waiver. I handle all that, which I handled this one. I handle the rentals of all the fields, which incidentally, for the record, do bring in rental fees between $15,000 and $20,000 a year, with another large contribution from Roger Bacon, which I won't disclose at this time, for upkeep and improvements every year that they've committed to us. So we have a pretty good amount of money coming in through this. Far outweighs the maintenance. You're not dragging fields anymore. You're still cutting an outfield, but we have an irrigation system that is pretty much automatic. You disinfect and sweep the fields occasionally. Vine Street does have to be dragged, and Lower Ross, but Lower Ross is never rented. So that was my doing. I don't know if we need to change the way that it's done. That's completely up to you guys. But, we have a liability waiver, and Christy will sign one with "Gotta Dance" before the first practice. So that's the way it's worked to this point. I throw it back at you at this point.
Mr. President?
Ms. Brickway.
I kind of wanted to explain a little bit, Tom, when he's like, when you said we rent it out or we rent it out to anybody. It's a dance studio. It's not a gun range, so we don't really have to worry about people coming in and shooting guns. It's called a dance fitness studio. That's all we rent it out for. And the instructors of the fitness classes, when they started, they were guaranteed, like, you know, they were hoping to get like at least in a minimum $25 an hour based on the amount of people that were there. They're still doing it. That blows my mind. And sometimes they get $5. Sometimes they get 15 because not many people are going now. But God love them, they're still coming in and having their classes. So it's not like just a hall we rent out for everything. It's dance and fitness. So if that answers your question. Okay.
Mr. President, oh, we've done. Mr. President,
Ms.
I
Helms.
just wanted to chime in on the state's requirements for the legality for taxes. It comes down to what is profit or for-profit corporation and what's nonprofit. It sounds to me that the whole dance program would be a nonprofit organization. However, the dance teacher and I don't have any names in front of me, so I don't know, but that person would have a tax obligation to the city. Same with when you look at umpires that do the baseball games. There's a 20-day rule in the tax code. An umpire would have to be here more than 20 days before there would be an obligation for them to have to file. It gets complicated. The city can't track every single nuance that has to do with taxes. I would lose my mind. I can't track all of it. But, if anybody ever has any questions and wants to make sure they're in compliance, I welcome them to call me and we'll figure it out and see what we need to do. I'm always available, and if I don't have the answer, I'm sure I can find someone that would.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Schultmeyer? Good? All right. All right. I think that wraps. Who? What? Oh, I asked nobody got before. Go ahead. Please state your name and address.
Matthew Durbin, 36 Baker. I also run that Facebook page that has been starting a lot of drama. Obviously, with the Monday incident, dance studio, obviously we all know that group starts a lot of drama. And the city officials tend to watch it and they want to jump in, but I know they try not to because they got to stay in the middle of it all. I don't think the main, I know there's a lot of misinformation. I think it's people that get heated. Some of the people want to look out for the village. I know with the dance studio specifically, I don't read all the comments. Sorry. But I think the main thing I've seen in the comments I did read was worry of litigation against the village that could cost us a lot of money. Because I know there's a lot of legal things behind that, how the businesses work that are renting it out, how the city runs it. But it sounds like to me that it's mostly nonprofit. It's just the money that's going for the class is just to pay for it to cover all that. And as for the Monday thing and the bashing of the police, I know that does come in there a lot. I myself have bashed the police. But it's not just based off what they say on Facebook that I bash them for. It's stuff that's happened to me personally that I've dealt with. I have a lot of relationship with police. I don't hate police. I don't hate St. Bernard police. I just hate some of the things they have done and the way they've done things. But I do try to work it out by either going to Jonathan himself to kind of work it out. I mean, there's some things I'm not going to say on here that I'm talking to him about. I know that's going to come out in the future. And I know some things are probably going to come from that not everybody's going to agree with. Just like the Monday incident, a lot of people are not going to agree with that. And I know why Cincinnati doesn't want our officers to go over there. It's not the best neighborhood. And I'm going to thank Cincinnati for telling us not to go over there like that. Because St. Bernard Police isn't used to that area as much as Cincinnati is. They don't know what to expect going over there. And I understand they don't want to just go door to door because that's not exactly the best neighborhood. They don't like police. So I am going to try to keep that group under control a lot more. I'm going to try to keep myself under control on how I respond to things and bash the city, basically. And sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
Mr. President.
Ms. Berkowitz.
Matthew, I think your heart was in the right place with it, and I think you've really tried. I think the hard part about the last two this time, like Laura, everybody knows Laura, she was doing a good thing, and it got out of control. The other thing is it was a council person putting it out there, so I believe people would hold a council person or an administrative person to a higher standard, I don't know what the word is, but higher, that they would know the ins and the outs of what's going on. And I think that's why people 100% believed exactly what Mr. Taberky read that Bob had posted. And I think that's why that one got so bad. But I do agree with letting people know what's going on, 100% letting people speak, but it's hard when there's so many untruths out there and watching people get bashed and departments get bashed. But and I'm sure it's a full-time job almost to run that. But I think your heart's in the right place. It's just this last week was pretty bad.
The main thing with Bob, like when I read the post, because I was the one that approved it, I didn't know anything about that incident until he posted it, so I didn't know any of the behind the scenes. I didn't talk to the police chief. I didn't talk to any of the officers involved. I was just going based off of a council member. I didn't even know who it was until screenshots of the post were being shared and names were starting to be dropped of who was involved. And obviously, reading the post, he instantly quickly threw the gun out there. He threw that it was a gang, which there's no way to really prove that they are a gang. I mean, there's no way we can prove. We don't know if they're going to come back this weekend during the St. Clement Festival, but I know SEMA's going to be on top of that. They got the pictures. If they do show up, I'm sure the officers down there are going to be on top of that, making sure that justice is brought for the incident on Monday and that they do not affect the festival. And I'm sure Bob was trying to be in the right place by getting the information out there. I think his mind wasn't 100% there. I think he was just really heated because one of his family members was injured. And I'm not going to sit here and 100% back up the family, 100% back up anything. I think it's just a lot of rights and wrongs that were done in that incident with the post and all of that. There's just a lot going on. I think that it could have been a little bit better. But it's just heat of the moments. And he did kind of worry the village a lot. I've seen all the shares. I've seen all the comments.
You're almost out of time, so
That's fine.
If we could, thanks.
Yeah. But I'll try to keep my best for keeping it.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? All right, before we go into executive session, what is council's pleasure on the absent member?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
make a motion to excuse the absent member.
I'll second it.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson to excuse the absent member. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We just have the one resolution then, and the next council meeting will be Thursday, September 23rd. Council will go into executive session to discuss current litigation, and we will return when we're done.